Hello, and welcome to Simple Compliance Readiness Wins for Small to Mid-sized Businesses with Cynomi. I am Susan Wheaton, Senior Director of Advisory Services for Access Point Consulting. Access Point is a cybersecurity and risk management consulting firm that provides hands-on advisory and managed security services. And joining me today is the CEO of Cynomi, David Primor. Good morning, David. Thank you for joining us today.
Hi, Susan. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Is there anything that you want to tell us about Cynomi and how the compliance piece on how it helps organizations with their compliance before we
Yes,
dig
sure.
in?
Yeah. So, Synomi is a virtual CISO platform. It's a software used by MSPs, MSSPs, security consultancies, and we help to understand all the compliances frameworks and help MSPs to leverage it in order to help their customers to provide the compliance readiness.
Great. So let's dive in. Today, we are going to discuss the importance of compliance, the challenges to organizations, the ways to achieve compliance, the cost of non-compliance, and how we at Access Point utilize the Cynomi solution to help organizations become compliant. All right. So why is compliance important? It follows legal, regulatory, and ethical standards and is important for managing risk to the organization. It promotes customer trust. Customers are more likely to purchase products and services when they know an organization adheres to applicable laws, regulations, and quality standards. It increases business revenue. Businesses that build compliance into their corporate framework are attractive business partners. It improves internal processes, and it protects a company from harm. So, David, what has been your experience with stressing the importance of compliance to organizations? How have they reacted when you have come at them with the importance and the need for compliance?
Yeah, we see the customers looking, almost all customers looking for compliance. And as you described here, from several reasons. So it could be regulation, it could be the fact that they want to follow a framework in order to show the customers, the business um, team that they are secured. It might be for insurance reasons to show that you are compliant in order to get insured. So we see that the importance of compliance become more and more important for the customers. And in addition, we see that from the state perspective, there are more and more regulations because it's a great tool from the state to enforce and to enhance cybersecurity. So we see more regulations, we see more demands for cybersecurity, and compliance becomes a great issue. It's not easy to be compliant, and I guess that Access Point and Synomi role is to make sure that we could provide compliance readiness in, let's say, reasonable efforts and investment.
Great. So let's talk about some compliance challenges. So some of the challenges that face organizations, especially small to mid-size, are obviously the growing number of threats and the bad actors. The smaller companies don't have those bigger budgets to grow, have a whole team in place, or they don't have specific tools in place that they may need in order to keep them safe. So, or they may have outdated technology. and sometimes outdated technology sitting around is not a good thing. It's easy for the hackers to get involved because there's no patching, or there may be no longer any support for certain technology. And of course, the changes and updates to laws and regulations and the supply chain. So there's supply chain risks and internal risks. Supply chain risks are lack of security control. So it's important for organizations to make sure that their vendors are adhering to the laws and regulations as well, and making sure that they vet them accordingly. And of course, the internal risks, making sure that the individuals you bring on are vetted as well, and background checks are very important, especially if your employees are going to be handling sensitive data. So, what are some of the challenges you have seen in your experience within the past 3 to 5 years as far as compliance?
Yeah. So I guess the supply chain risks are the most recent threats that we see. So lots of regulations add these supply chain risks to the frameworks. For example, NIST 2.0, EDIS, and we see more like the NIST 2 in Europe. I think in the beginning, let's 3 4 5 years, it's mostly risk management, but now we see more and more frameworks which more practical way to for cybersecurity. And in the recent years, for example, this year we see all this AI, and we start to see new frameworks that try to handle the AI. And I'm sure that every framework and regulation in the future will encapsulate AI into it. So I think what is maybe the challenge of compliance from the ones that wrote the compliance, the regulation, is how to handle the evolving risks. And I think that this is the reason why compliance can't be alone. You should embed compliance and cybersecurity together to follow the new risks that the compliance not covered, because the compliance may be written about 2 years ago, 3 years ago, and then to try to combine it. And we see the evolving way of compliance and regulation, because the cybersecurity arena is changed continuously.
So you mentioned AI, and it's been evolving pretty quickly. Do you think that that's a big challenge for small organizations and mid-sized organizations as far as trying to keep up with the emergence of AI? And because I've seen a lot of companies using AI, but they don't necessarily have any policies in place, and they're not really a lot of people don't know a lot about it. So what would be a recommendation from you on how people can get up to speed on what AI is and how to use it safely within your organization?
Yeah. So I guess using a framework which help you to understand what are the risks of using AI, now to mitigate it, is the first step, because there are so many risks in anything, including AI. For example, getting AI results. Is it accurate? Do you have hallucinations? How do you use it in a company? Data leak. If you put your data, take your data from the company without any filters and put it in the web, so the data could be used by anybody. So and there are so many AI programs. It's not only ChatGPT. There are many others tools that you could use. And where the data are going, is it legit programs or not? So it's not only the AI, it's also the supply chain, or maybe a trusted software that you're using. So many different types of risks involving with AI. I think this is the reason we have more and more frameworks helping you to protect against AI threats. This is the reason that we in Synomi embedded the AI policy within and the platform in order to help companies to handle the AI risks, even if it's not currently part of the compliance or part of the regulation.
Great. So some ways that an organization can achieve compliance in a cost-effective way or simple way is through documentation, policies, standards, procedures, um, defining your critical assets, inventory of assets, hardware, software, virtual people, of course, which would hopefully be in your HRIS system, and then knowing where your data is, what types of data, how to classify data based on criticality, knowing where your data is stored and how is it transmitted, and particularly how it's secured when transmitted and stored, what kind of encryption is used. So those are some of the easier ways um, to achieve compliance without spending a lot of money. But what is the number one way, in your opinion, that an organization can achieve compliance?
Yeah, so I think starting from picking, if you have some regulation that you have to follow, it's okay. If you don't have, you should pick one of the framework in order to follow. It could be NIST, it could be CIS version 8, anything that can give you some structure. And then I think the first thing to do is to do some kind of assessment and to understand where you at, how many requirements are fulfilled, how many requirements you have to fulfill, and create a plan in order to understand how much time it will take you to get the compliance. And it's a process. It could take several weeks. It could take several months. It could be taken several years, depending on the regulation. For example, 853. It's so massive. It will take lot of time to be compliant. So I think that to understand where you are, what you want to achieve, and to prioritize the efforts, I think this is the right way to be compliant. Evidence collection is very important. When you try to be compliant, it's one way to ask questions. The other way is to make sure that you have the right answers and the answers are documented. So I guess that studying a process of documentation and evidence collection is things that must be the nature of a company that want to be compliant.
All right. So what is the cost of non-compliance? So it could cause technological damage through threat exposure, data loss, business disruption, or reputational loss. You lose your customers if they can't trust you. And there's financial impact. There's fines, penalties, and lawsuits. So how does Access Point Consulting and Synomi work together to achieve this for clients? So we create a cyber profile through questionnaires that are given to the clients to assess and work on policies, process, and tools, such as what you were describing, David, and also doing this initial assessment through those questionnaires and through the internal and external scans, and then choosing those profiles that are most aligned with the organization and creating those remediation plans. And then Access Point monitors the client's progress and makes those recommendations for improvement based on the remediation plan. So David, what is the inspiration for Synomi, and how do you see it improving security and compliance in those terms?
Yeah, so Synomi try to be up to date with the different compliance and regulation out there. So help MSPs to understand whether there are some changes in the regulations and be relevant with your customers. So this is one aspect. Second aspect, that we are continuously providing more and more tools in order to help you to maintain compliance and to remediate the gaps that you see. So Cynomi is constantly evolving. We have exciting new features next year, and the purpose is to help you to accelerate the cybersecurity and compliance journey for your customers.
And Access Point and Cynomi, how will their collaboration help maximize the use of the platform to ensure client success? Do you constantly update the platform as far as adding like new frameworks or regulatory standards or laws and regulations such as CCPA that's in California, or NYDFS and from New York, those types of things?
Yeah, so we're doing it continuously. So we're adding more and more frameworks, and we work together with the Access Point to train you and to teach you what is the new in the regulation, because it's impossible for anybody to track all the type of regulations and laws and best practices. And we are trying to use our network of CISOs to collect all this data and then work with you to help you to provide the most accurate information and guidance to your customers.
Perfect. So just to sum up, obviously compliance is very important to prevent harm to the organization. Non-compliance can cause irreversible financial, reputational, and technological damage, and it can be achieved through assessments. Just working with Access Point, using the Cynomi platform to do those initial assessments and figure out what controls an organization needs, and documentation, and process documentation. And you mentioned before the collection of evidence. Your platform helps with that as well, knowing what evidence to collect to ensure that they are compliant. And then Cynomi and Access Point work hand in hand to benefit the clients of Access Point to reduce their risk and remediate any vulnerabilities that they have. Thank you, David. I appreciate you joining me today for this webinar, and I appreciate all of your information and your work with Cynomi, and we look forward to using Cynomi ongoing with our clients and to help them become compliant and increase their security posture. And if you have any questions or would like to know more about Access Point, the information there, contact information is on your screen.